Let's go to Jeff in Mobile. You're on Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. How can we help you, Jeff?
Hi, guys. Appreciate your show. I listen when I can. Got a question for you. You were talking a lot about these deferred income products and annuities, things like that. And I was wondering, do you guys take a look at these? They're not considered century bonds, but they are ultra long-term bonds. They're issued by companies like Southern Company and AT&T that are issued at rates over 5.5% as a means to act like similar to annuities for people.
No, gosh, that makes me uncomfortable too when you mention somebody like AT&T being a viable company for another 50 years or something. That's one of the most debt-laden companies in our country, and I'm super glad the CEO is stepping down, because I think, he leaves on a good note. He acquires all these media companies, but I think that was a good cover for the mess he's made of one of the great companies in the country. So yeah, I'm probably telling you more than you wanted to hear, but I'm just, that doesn't make me comfortable there from. So that is a risk offering when we're talking about annuities from a fixed interest or fixed index standpoint. We're basically taking the risk off the table. The insurance company picks that up. It's subject to the strength and underlying assets that they have, and I'm not endorsing anyone in particular, but we use that as a safe money option where we're not exposing the money directly to risk.
Okay, let me ask you a question. I went out and looked at something like there's a website out there that sells what they consider immediate annuities or deferred annuities. And help me understand where I might be wrong here, but I gave the number and let them run the numbers on it. And it looked like to me when I reverse engineered the calculations that basically the way that it looked to me like is that they were taking T-bill rates plus my expected age and annuitizing my money plus the T-bill return over that same period of time. Am I off in thinking on that way? Because it looks to me like with the ultra low interest rates we're at right now, I'm really not going to be getting a big return because T-bills are at next to nothing.
And I would say you're right about that, because why I brought that up on the air, because it is an option to guarantee that. Now, if you kind of put your money, say, in Vanguard's S&P 500 fund, and I've talked about this before on the show, and I don't have the ticker symbol up for it, but if you put $1 million in there, started taking out $40,000 a year in 1999, and increased it at 3% inflation, your $1 million would, at the end of last year, would have been down to about $651,000. So that equities is surely not sustaining it from. And that's a 7.50% return that fund performed, but it did not keep the assets intact because of volatility. So on the other end, that really equates out to negative assets versus we're talking about an income annuity based, say, at 1%. You at least know absolutely what that's going to do. Now, I'm not a fan of let's go and put our money into an immediate annuity at 1%. I would, and it depends. If you've got a specific amount of money you're needing to kick out over that time and create that lockdown situation, that's what it's for. Otherwise, I would rather use asset classes, and I would want to use some assets in a fixed indexed annuity, because I also know historicals, there are some decent returns there that range from 3 to 6%. There, and we can take distributions from that money, because I really don't want to do annuicide. I mean annuitization. Yeah, and look, we're all likely to mostly. I talked to clients the other day. They've got like $3.5 million and don't need a lot of income. Actually, I talked to two like that recently, and they're just not ever going to stress their assets, so they're never having a spend down. Most people are, because they don't have that kind of money saved. So when you're taking a 4% stream and inflating it, you are going to have a spend down over time. That you need to wrap your mind around, because that is the way it's going to be for most people that have saved money. But what we want to do is not run out of money, and that's why we need some safety built into the mix. And bonds is not safety. Those still have risk, just at a lower degree of it. from that standpoint, but it's something to consider in this thinking of having assets that kind of work at that you're not having risk eat away at it. It's yield and your spend rate of it. Because bonds still could affect you negatively, and equities darn sure are going to make you unhappy at times. And I don't have a bias. We handle all this for clients. I have these conversations every day at my day job, so I understand these worlds, but the objective is to get the right blend. Jeff?
Okay, so one last question, I'll let you go
Okay.
here. And you guys got other things to get to. But, I mean, basically a lot of this is predicated on the notion that inherently the insurance companies are safer than anything out there, or some mixture of what's going on in the market. And the question I've got is why do we believe that? Is that just historical performance, or what? What's going to stop my insurance company from going out of business if, everybody goes bust and they've got to pay out all their claims, as opposed to anybody like AT&T or even a mixture of everybody in the S&P 500?
Volatility is what's going to spend down your money on equities. No matter how many decades you look at, you have negative impact of markets going down. Now, what you have out there is there's a bit more to it, but, their companies are rated on quality and how they're managed, and the underlying assets, they essentially have to put their money in bonds